Have you ever felt a loneliness so deep that it pushed you towards something you swore you would never do? This is a story of silence, of longing, and of choices that should never have been made. A woman invisible in her own home, forgotten by the man who once promised to love her. A son growing into a man, too quickly carrying his own emptiness, his own shadows. And on one quiet afternoon by the sea, their worlds collided in a way that neither of them could undo. It began with a glance, a touch, a hesitation that should have ended, but didn't. From that moment, the lines blurred. Between mother and son, between right and wrong, between what was real and what was forbidden. Every look, every silence, every stolen moment drew them closer, until the secret between them grew too heavy to hide. Tonight I want to share with you a story that may disturb you, may even break your heart. But sometimes the most dangerous betrayals are not the ones we commit against others, but the ones we commit against ourselves. It had been so long since anyone had touched me with that kind of intent, and the realization struck me harder than I dared to admit. Then I felt his hands drift lower, tracing the curve of my back, slow, deliberate, gentle. My breath caught in my throat. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. My mind was racing, screaming at me to say something, to stop it. Yet my lips remained sealed. I told myself he was just helping, that I was imagining the weight of his touch. But I knew better. His hands lingered at the edge where my towel ended. Hesitation pulsed between us. His and mine. And then, instead of pulling away, I whispered words I would regret forever. It's okay. You can rub there too. The sentence hung in the air like poison, impossible to take back. Adrian said nothing. He didn't stop either. His hands slipped lower than they ever should have gone, and I closed my eyes, my heart pounding so loudly I was certain he could hear it. I wanted to sit up, to pull away, to tell him this was wrong, but I didn't. I couldn't. I let it happen. Even now, I don't know why. Maybe it was the loneliness. Maybe I was desperate to feel wanted, even when it was forbidden. Or maybe I simply didn't care anymore. That day on the beach broke something deep inside me. And nothing would ever be the same again. If you've stayed with me this far into the story, thank you. I know it isn't easy to listen, and yet your presence here, your attention, means more to me than you know. If this story resonates with you, or if you think someone you know might feel the same ache I've carried, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It lets me keep sharing these pieces of my soul, and it reminds me that I am not alone. But let's return to the story. After that day, something shifted. I couldn't bury it, no matter how hard I tried. The way Adrian looked at me wasn't fleeting anymore. It was constant, lingering, heavy. Each glance carried something unspoken, something I couldn't name but couldn't ignore either. When we got home that evening, I tried to hold on to normal. I cooked dinner. I asked Adrian about school. I folded laundry until midnight, my hands trembling. But every movement replayed the memory of his touch. I hated myself for letting it happen. I hated him for making me feel something I should never have felt. Ethan, my husband, came home late as always. His tie loosened, his face drawn with exhaustion. He kissed me out of habit, nothing more. Long day I asked, desperate for conversation, for connection. He only nodded, retreating to the living room, leaving me invisible once again. That night, lying beside him as he snored softly, my thoughts betrayed me. They wandered back to Adrian, the way his hands had hesitated, the way his eyes followed me, even when I pretended not to notice. I told myself I should end it before it went further. But some darker part of me, the part carved hollow by years of silence, longed for more. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Adrian never spoke of what happened, but his silence was louder than words. He didn't avoid me. If anything, he stayed closer, watching, waiting. His gaze lingered when I cooked, when I folded clothes, when I sat quietly alone. And I didn't stop him. The following weekend came scorching, suffocating, and once again, Ethan was gone. Work as usual. It left me and Adrian alone, like before. I don't even know why I asked him. Maybe I wanted to test myself. Maybe I wanted to prove I could bury it. Or maybe I wanted to relive it. Do you want to go to the beach again? Just the two of us, I asked. The car ride was silent. Adrian didn't wear his earphones this time. He just stared out the window, his knee bouncing restlessly. I opened my mouth to break the silence, but the words refused to leave me. The beach was nearly deserted. The sea shimmered, the wind cool against my face. I spread out the towels, just as before. Adrian held wordless. But this time, I couldn't ask him to touch me. I couldn't risk it. Instead, I lay down, closed my eyes, and pretended everything was fine. But even with my eyes closed, I could feel him. I could feel his gaze burning against me, heavy and undeniable, and I didn't move. The real breaking point came later that afternoon. We stopped by the public showers before heading home, intending only to rinse the salt and sand from our skin. It should have been ordinary, quick something forgettable. But it wasn't. Adrian stepped beneath the stream first, the water running down his shoulders and back in shining rivulets. I stood aside for a moment, watching him longer than I should have. Then, without thinking, I slipped off my outer clothes and stepped under the water beside him. The spray was cool, almost shocking against my skin. He looked at me, startled, uncertain. His gaze flickered between my face and the ground. He didn't speak. Neither did I. Until I did. "You should take off your shorts too," I whispered. "You need a good wash." I don't know why I said it. Maybe I wanted to prove I still had control, that I could push him away if I wanted. Or maybe I was testing him, testing myself. He hesitated only for a moment before doing exactly what I'd asked. His shorts slipped to the ground. And suddenly, there we were, alone, water rushing over us, stripping away everything but the truth of what we both felt. I turned my back to him. "Help me with my back," I murmured. He obeyed, his hands, careful, deliberate. But the tension was unmistakable. When his palms slid toward my waist, I froze. The air grew heavy, thick. The water thundered around us, drowning out the sound of my breath. I could have stepped away. I could have stopped it. But instead, I leaned back into him. My hands reached for his, dragging them forward, pressing them against my chest. And he didn't pull away. What happened next I won't explain in detail. I can't. It was a blur of loneliness, of need, of something desperate and forbidden. It wasn't tender, it wasn't slow. It was raw, reckless wrong in every way imaginable. And yet, I didn't stop. I didn't want to. When it was over, we stood there silent, the water washing over us, as though it could cleanse what we had just done. But water cannot wash away truth. He held me, then held me in a way no one had in years, and I let him. We didn't speak after. We dried off, packed our things, walked to the car. My heart felt like broken glass inside my chest. I glanced at Adrian. His face was flushed, his steps rigid, his silence deafening. We had crossed a line we could never return from. And yet, for the first time in years, I felt alive. The drive home was suffocating. The car was too small, the air too heavy. My hands gripped the wheel, though my thoughts were far from the road. I could still feel him, his touch, his weight, the fire of what we had done. My eyes kept flickering toward him. He sat stiffly staring out the window, jaw clenched, and then his voice broke through the silence. "Mom," he said, his tone low, uncertain, almost fragile. My heart stuttered. I couldn't look at him. What I answered, his next words nearly unraveled me. What just happened back there? For a moment I considered denying it, brushing it aside, pretending. But there was no point in lies anymore. Not after this. My voice trembled as I breathed out the only truth I had. I don't know. We said nothing more until we pulled into the driveway. The car engine ticked in the quiet. Neither of us moved. Then Adrian turned to me, really turned to me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my blood run cold. It wasn't guilt, it wasn't shame, it was longing. "How long have you felt this way?" he asked. A shiver ran through me, because it was the same question I had been asking myself. I met his gaze, my voice barely audible. "I don't know. Maybe longer than I want to admit." We sat in the dark, drowning in silence. I thought that was the end, that we'd walk inside, pretend, bury it under routine. But Adrian shattered that illusion. Before I could open the door, he leaned in and kissed me. Soft at first, hesitant, afraid, but I didn't stop him. I kissed him back, and then I lost control. Maybe it was the years of neglect. Maybe it was the way Ethan had stopped seeing me long ago. Or maybe it was the way Adrian's eyes burned with the kind of hunger I had long forgotten. Whatever it was, I surrendered. Right there in front of the house, I let it happen. His hands roamed over me like they belonged, and for the first time in years, I felt wanted, alive, seen. I don't know how long we stayed like that, tangled in shadows, drowning in something that could never last. Eventually, we stumbled inside, silent, the weight of our choices pressing down on us. I don't remember the walk to the door, only the feel of his hand, warm and certain, wrapped tightly around mine. The silence between us hummed like electricity vibrating in the air. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. The moment we stepped inside the house, everything escalated, as if we had been holding back for too long, and the dam finally burst. The days that followed blurred together. Adrian lingered near me, constantly finding excuses to brush against me, to hold my gaze when no one else was watching. I told myself I should stop. I told myself I had to end it. But every time I looked at him, I saw myself reflected in his eyes. The same loneliness, the same emptiness, the same hunger. We were mirrors broken in the same places. And I couldn't say no. I didn't want to. At night, lying beside Ethan, listening to the rhythm of his breathing, I thought of Adrian in the next room. His hands, his warmth, the way he made me feel alive again. And then guilt would wrap itself around me, heavy and suffocating, coiling inside my chest like a snake. I knew it was wrong. I knew it couldn't last. But I couldn't stop. The tension between us grew tighter each day until it snapped. It was late one night. Ethan was working late. Little Isa was asleep. Adrian and I were in the kitchen. I stood at the sink, washing dishes, pretending to focus, when I felt him behind me. I turned. He was there, looking at me the way he had at the beach. Hungry, restless, unafraid. Adrian, I whispered, my voice trembling, trying to warn him, but he didn't stop. He stepped closer, so close I felt his breath trace the back of my neck. "Mom," he breathed. "I can't stop thinking about you." I froze. My heart thundered. I wanted to tell him to leave, to go back to his room, to pretend none of this had ever happened. But I didn't. Instead, I looked up at him and confessed the one thing I should have buried forever. I can't stop either. That was it. The moment the last thread of control snapped, Adrian kissed me harder this time, desperate, devouring, and I kissed him back. Nothing else mattered. Not Ethan, not Isa, not the life we had built around a fragile illusion. All that mattered was him, Adrian, my son, the only one who made me feel alive. From that day, nothing has been the same. I know it never will be again. We crossed a line on that beach, and every step since has dragged us deeper into something I cannot escape. The guilt is constant, present, suffocating, but it doesn't stop me. And that truth terrifies me more than anything. I look at Ethan. I look at Isa. I wonder how they don't see it, how they don't feel the cracks splitting through the foundation of our family. Maybe they're too consumed by their own lives to notice. Or maybe I've simply become too skilled at hiding, but I know it can't last. Secrets always find a way to claw themselves into the light. And when they do, the destruction will be unstoppable. I tell myself again and again that this is wrong, that Adrian deserves better, that I deserve better. And yet, every time he touches me, every time he looks at me, as if I am the only soul in the world, I lose myself. He awakens something in me I didn't know had survived all these years. And that is the truth I am cursed to live with. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if I can. That's why I'm telling my story now. Maybe someone out there has an answer, something I can't see. Maybe someone can help me find a way out of the chaos I've created before it's too late. So please, if you have advice, if you've lived something like this, I want to hear from you. And if nothing else, let my confession stand as a warning. Loneliness can carry you to places you swore you'd never go. Don't let it swallow you the way it swallowed me. Don't wait until your world is already in ruins, because once you cross that line, there is no going back. Thank you for listening. Please share your thoughts. Like this video if you found it meaningful, and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like mine. And remember, sometimes the deepest betrayals are not the ones we commit against others, but the ones we commit against ourselves. Ending. Trailer for next episode. But stories like this never stay hidden forever. One evening, as I sat at the dining table pretending to sort through bills, I felt Ethan's eyes on me. He wasn't tired. He wasn't distracted. He was watching. Watching me too closely. His hand tightened around his glass, his voice low, almost casual. "You've been different lately," he said. "Is there something you're not telling me?" My blood ran cold. Before I could answer, Adrian walked into the room. And in that single moment, in the way Ethan's eyes shifted between us, I realized he already suspected something. The walls I had built around my secret life were beginning to crack. And I knew it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down. If you want to know what happens when suspicion turns into truth, stay with me. The next part of this story will shatter everything.